Hello and welcome, IGNOU aspirants. Today, we're going to break down a really big one, David Ricardo's theory of economic development. Now, this is absolutely a must-know for your exams, but honestly, it's also like a fascinating detective story. Ricardo was trying to solve a huge puzzle. Why does it seem like economic growth has a built-in self-destruct button?
So let's start with that central mystery. This is what Ricardo was obsessed with. He looked around and he saw progress. He saw growth. But he asked this really pessimistic question. What brings all this to a grinding halt? Why can't the good times just last forever? His answer became a cornerstone of classical economics. So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to break down Ricardo's puzzle into these 6 clear parts. We'll look at his world, the players, the engine of growth, see how it all ends, and then crucially for your exam, we'll look at the criticisms. This will make it super easy to remember. Okay, let's dive right in. To understand where Ricardo ends up, you have to understand where he starts. We're talking about the rules of the game he sets for his model. Now, for your exam, these are absolutely critical. Think of them as the building blocks for his entire argument. He simplifies everything. Imagine a world that only produces one thing: corn. There's a fixed amount of land, and here's a big one. It's subject to the law of diminishing returns, meaning the more you farm it, the less extra corn you get. In this world, workers are only paid a subsistence wage, just enough to live. In technology, it's completely frozen in time. These assumptions are the key to unlocking his whole theory. All right, so we've got the rules of the world. Now, who are the players on this stage? In Ricardo's model, it all comes down to 3 key groups, and how they divide up the national pie is the central drama. It's a pretty simple cast, right? You've got your landlords, who own the fields. You have the capitalists, who organize everything and invest their money. And then you have the laborers, who do all the manual work. The entire story of economic development, for Ricardo, is basically the struggle between these 3 groups. And here is a fantastic little trick to remember who gets what, perfect for your exam revision. The players are landlords, capitalists, and laborers, so LCL. Their income is rent, profit, and wages, so RPW. Just remember the phrase, LCL gets RPW. It's a super simple way to lock in who gets which slice of the pie. Now, the order of payment is so important here. Ricardo says rent is the first thing taken out of everything that's produced. Before anyone else sees a single rupee, the landlords get their share. This means the capitalists and the laborers are left to basically fight over whatever is left. So what do the workers get? A subsistence wage. This is another one of his big ideas. It's not about how hard you work. It's a fixed cost. It's the absolute bare minimum needed just to keep a worker alive. And as we're about to see, this idea is like a ticking time bomb for profits. So, we have the players and we know how they get paid. But what actually makes the economy grow? For Ricardo, there is only one engine: capital accumulation. Capital accumulation sounds fancy, but it just means getting more stuff to make more stuff. More tools, more machinery, more funds to invest. But where does it come from? Ricardo is crystal clear. It comes from profits, and only profits. The capitalists are the only ones investing. Their profit isn't just income, it is the fuel for the entire economic engine. And this creates a really powerful cycle of growth, at least at the beginning. It starts with high profits. The capitalists save and reinvest that money. That leads to more capital accumulation, which in turn creates more jobs for workers. The economy expands. It seems like a perfect system. But of course, there's a fatal flaw. And this right here illustrates the central conflict. It's like a seesaw. Remember, after rent is paid, what's left is split between wages and profits. So if wages have to rise, maybe because food gets more expensive, then profits must fall. There's just nowhere else for that money to come from. This inverse relationship is the absolute key to understanding the whole theory. So if profits are the engine of growth, what happens when that engine runs out of fuel? Well, this is where Ricardo's theory gets pretty pessimistic and leads us to his most famous concept, the stationary state. And here is the great paradox. The very process of growth is actually what ends up killing that growth. As the economy expands, the population grows. More people means more demand for food, and this triggers a chain reaction that slowly but surely strangles the very profits that started it all. Just think about the early days of an economy. There's plenty of rich, fertile land. Food is cheap to grow,
This keeps rents low, and because food is cheap, the wage bill is also low. With both of those costs down, a huge slice of the pie is left over as profit. This is the golden age, and it fuels rapid growth.
But then, population growth forces people to start cultivating worse and worse land. Because of the law of diminishing returns, growing corn on this bad land is more expensive. This new higher cost then sets the price for all corn. So, as the price of corn shoots up, two things happen. Wages have to rise just to keep workers fed, and the rent on the good land skyrockets. Profits get squeezed from both sides until they're crushed all the way down to zero.
And this is the end of the line, the stationary state. With zero profit, there's no more incentive to invest. Capital accumulation grinds to a halt. Growth stops. The population becomes constant. The economy is just stuck. And the landlords are capturing a massive share of the income as rent, while everyone else is just getting by.
Okay, now for the part that you will almost certainly see on your exam paper, a critical evaluation of this theory. Because no theory is perfect, and Ricardo's has some really significant weaknesses you need to be able to talk about.
For any question that asks you to criticize the theory, focus on these points. The absolute biggest one is technology. Ricardo completely underestimated how innovation could just blow the law of diminishing returns out of the water. Because of this, his prediction about the stationary state has never actually happened in a modern economy. His ideas on population were pretty baseless, too. Highlighting these points is a surefire way to score well.
Whew, okay, we've covered a lot, so let's pull everything together onto a single slide. Think of this as your ultimate revision tool, the one thing you look at right before you walk into the exam hall. I would seriously suggest you pause here and take a screenshot. This is the entire theory on one slide. You've got the three groups fighting over the three shares. You have our mnemonic. LCL gets RPW. The engine of growth is capital accumulation. The key conflict is between wages and profits. It's all because of the law of diminishing returns, and it all ends in the stationary state. And the theory's biggest weakness? It completely neglects technology. This is revision gold.
And I'll leave you with a final thought. Ricardo saw land as the ultimate brake on growth. He was wrong because he missed technology. So the question for us today is, what is the ultimate brake on our growth? Is it climate change? Natural resources? Something else entirely? That's a question modern economists are still grappling with. All the best for your exams.